Hello. Today we're going to read a poem by John Keats. And as we read it, we're going to think about how Greek mythology has influenced this poem and this poet, as well as the whole movement that he was a part of. John Keats, who was really one of my first loves as a poet. He was one of the poets that, when I was in high school and I was a literature nerd, and I didn't have a terrible life or anything, but John Keats was one of the poets that I turned to often then. I really connected with him. I identified with his poetry a lot. Whereas today I'm probably in a different place and I read different poets and connect with them on a different plane. But John Keats was part of the Romantic movement. And in literature, when we talk about the Romantic movement, it doesn't mean like romance like we think of today, like a love story, like a rom-com. It has to do with poetry that was concerned with high emotion and things like that. So one of the things that the Romantic poets dealt with often was classical themes, and they loved Greek art and the Greek form and things like that. I'm using my Grecian Urn mug there, and John Keats had another poem called Ode on a Grecian Urn, which we're not going to read, but if we did, we could do a similar activity with that. It would really tie in. We've read a lot of Greek mythology. We've read about all the different gods and goddesses and the cosmos of Greek mythology. So today, while we read this poem, I want you to think about where we see Greek mythology coming into play here and what sort of allusions we see. The poem that we're going to read is called Ode on Melancholy. And I want you to think about not just these Greek allusions, but on a more literary level. What is he saying about melancholy? In one sense, what is his advice to you when you are feeling melancholy? Okay, but he's writing Ode on Melancholy. No, go not to Lethe, neither twist wolf's bane tight-rooted for its poisonous wine, nor suffer thy pale forehead to be kissed by nightshade, ruby grape of Proserpine. Make not your rosary of yew berries, nor let the beetle nor the death moth be your mournful Psyche, nor the downy owl a partner in your sorrow's miseries. For shade to shade will come too drowsily, and drown the waking anguish of the soul. But when the melancholy fit shall fall sudden from heaven, like a weeping cloud that fosters the droop-headed flowers all, and hides the green hill in an April shroud, then glut thy sorrow on a morning rose, or on the rainbow of the salt sand wave, or on the wealth of globed peonies. Or if thy mistress some rich anger shows, imprison her soft hand, and let her rave, and feed deep, deep upon her peerless eyes. She dwells with beauty, beauty that must die, and joy, whose hand is ever at his lips, bidding adieu, and aching pleasure nigh, turning to poison while the bee-mouth sips. Aye, in the very temple of delight, veiled melancholy has her sovereign shrine, though seen of none save him whose strenuous tongue can burst joy's grape upon his palate fine. His soul shall taste the sadness of her might, and be among her cloudy trophies hung.